Imagine one night where you're just bored as fuck and decide, you know what, I think I'll go test out that old urban legend of saying someone's name in the mirror 5 times. So you go into the bathroom and you say the name 5 times. Horshbox, 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 Horshbox. And boom! Out pops me and I give you a swift punch to the jaw and say, take that, you cunt. But you know what? It could have been much worse for you, as you could have summoned someone much nastier than I am. You could have summoned the Candyman.
He's here.
Candyman, you don't have to believe. Just beware.
Candyman is a 1992 horror movie film starring Virginia Manson as Helen Lyle, who while researching urban legends runs into the Candyman played by Tony Todd, and all sorts of madness happens. Our movie film begins with Helen being told a story about that time Ted Raimi was going to get himself a spot of riding, but the girl he was with wanted to tell a story first to set the mood.
Have you ever heard of Candyman?
No.
Well, his right hand is sawn off. He has a hook jammed in the bloody stump. And if you look in the mirror and you say his name 5 times, he'll appear behind you, breathing down your neck. You want to try it?
Well, that's the weirdest way to get someone all hyped up for a spot of sexy time. So these feckin' idiots go ahead and say Candyman's name, but Ted gets distracted and stops at 4.
No one ever got past 4.
But while he's chilling downstairs with a beer, this mad woman goes and says Candyman's name a 5th time and ends up #dushed. So it turns out that Helen and her bestie Bernadette are researching urban legends for their paper and have decided to focus on Candyman.
So, what's the deal? You guys doing a page on serial killers or something?
Something like that.
Helen heads off to school to have a chat with her college professor husband Trevor, who might be getting up to no good at all with one of his students.
She could barely look me in the eyes, Trevor, and I swear she was blushing.
Well, I guess that's because she's madly in love with me.
No, it's cause you were having a feckin' spot of riding with that one and we all fucking know it. Helen is annoyed that Trevor is teaching about urban legends as it might mess up her paper, but Trevor doesn't give a fuck. Later that night, while chatting with the college cleaning ladies, Helen learns that Candyman might be getting up to no good in the Cabrini Green housing project, as it's said that he murdered a woman over there.
She was killed with a hook. Yeah.
It's true. Yeah, it is. I read it in the papers. Candyman killed her.
So she does a spot of research and discovers that the candy fella has been getting up to all sorts of devilment. Helen shows her findings to Bernadette and then decides to be a daft ass and says Candy Lad's name 5 times in the mirror.
Candyman, 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 Candyman. Candyman.
But nothing happens. I guess that story was a load of shite. But the next day, the two of them head over to Cabrini Green to do a spot of investigating into the stories about the Sweetie Man. While there, Helen discovers that Candyman has a very interesting taste in artwork. They end up meeting Anne-Marie McCoy and her infant son Anthony, who tells them all she knows about the night of the murder.
I'm scared. Scared for my child. That he never gonna catch him. Who? Candyman.
So later that night, while having a whole pack of cigarettes for dinner, Helen learns about Candyman's backstory. Now it turns out that Candy Lad was something of an amazing artist back in the day. So good in fact that a wealthy lad asked him to paint a pic of his daughter. But wouldn't you know it, it wasn't only the paintbrushes that were being stroked that night. So the landowner's daughter got up the duff and he was having none of it. So himself and his boys attacked poor Candyman and cut off his hand before finally covering him in honey and having bees sting him to death. God, what a way to go. Actually, this is probably the second saddest bee-related movie film death. #dushed. But enough about poor old Tommy J, we got some Candyman to get through, as Helen has gone back to Cabrini Green to get more answers, and she runs into this young lad Jake, who agrees to show her where she can find Candyman, and it just so happens Candyman lives in the feckin' outdoor toilets. Jake tells Helen all about a time a young lad got his willy cut off by Candyman in that bathroom.
They found it floating in a toilet. Can't fix that.
So Helen, of course, goes in to have a look around, and it turns out someone has fucking wrecked the place. Jesus Christ, he fucking destroyed it. But sadly for Helen, the stank is the least of her troubles, as a bunch of lads show up and aren't happy to find a woman in the lad's bathroom. So they bush the face off poor Helen. But the joke's on these lads as Helen gets these wannabe candy lads put away for bushing her face in. And she believes she solved the mystery of Candyman.
Candyman isn't real. He's just a story. You know, like Dracula or Frankenstein. A bad man took his name so he could scare us.
But wouldn't you know it, a few days later, Helen discovers just how wrong she is when the real candy lad pops up.
Helen.
Yes?
Helen.
Who is that?
And just look at this badass suave motherfucker. You can just tell by the way he's standing. Candyman fucks. And it turns out Helen gets put into a trance by Candy Lad's sexy as fuck voice, and he politely asks her to be his victim.
Be my victim. Be my victim.
So it turns out, due to Helen running her mouth around town about Candy Lad not being real, has caused him to be mighty pissed off. And to get her back, he slips Helen a roofie so she wakes up in a random spot covered in blood. And discovers that the Candy Lad has killed a doggy, and he's also kidnapped poor baby Anthony. But he leaves poor Helen behind to take the blame, and she gets arrested by the cops. Trevor manages to bail Helen out of jail, and the two head home, where Helen tries to figure out if she's as mad as a bag of spiders or not. But it isn't long until Sweetie Man shows her just how real he is. Helen tries to do a legger, but there is no escaping this lad.
Believe in me. Be my victim.
And he lets her know just how unhappy he is with her.
Your disbelief destroyed the faith of my congregation. Without them, I am nothing. So I was obliged to come. And now, I must kill you. Your death will be a tale to frighten children, to make lovers cling closer in their rapture.
But oh shite, it turns out poor Bernadette is here, and it ain't her lucky day as she ends up #dust. Helen gets arrested once again and is clearly a fruitcake altogether, so she gets shipped off to the mental ward. But Candyman the Big Owl Creeper is back again.
Allow me at least a kiss. Just one exquisite kiss.
Coming on a bit strong there now, Candy, aren't you? Jesus Christ, what would this lad be like on Tinder? Sometime later, Helen meets Dr. Burke, who shows her just how daft she truly is. But Helen is like, oh now, hold your horses there, lad. I'll show you that the Sweetie Man is real. So Helen goes and summons Candyman again.
Candyman.
Oh, I guess it didn't work. Oh, fuck no, he's dead. Oh, he's dushed as fuck. Candyman frees Helen and goes right out the feckin' window. Helen manages to escape the hospital and goes back home, only to find Trevor is a cheating bastard and has gotten himself a newer, younger Helen. Also, why would you stay in an apartment where someone was brutally murdered? Like, painting the walls ain't going to do shit. Helen says fuck you to Trevor and heads off to Cabrini Green to find Sweetie Man and baby Anthony. While there, Helen gets her own hook and finds Candyman panned out asleep. I guess even spooky boys need their nap time. But Helen says wake up you cunt and stabs him right in the chest. But this only turns Candyman on and he wants to have a spot of dancing.
Surrender to me now, and he shall be unharmed.
While Candyman is dropping the hook on Helen, he decides to give her a spot of sweet talk again.
Come with me and be immortal.
Well, you know, that doesn't sound so bad.
What is it? What is that? What is it? Oh, no, not the beast! Not the beast! Ah! Oh, my eyes! My eyes! Ah! Ah!
This kiss full of bees turns out to be too much for Helen and she passes out. But later when she wakes up, she discovers that Candyman has put poor baby Anthony into the bonfire that's been made outside. But when she goes to look for him, she is spotted by Jake, who thinks she's the Candyman.
He's here.
So he gathers all his lads and they go and light the damn bonfire, trapping Helen and Anthony inside. She tries to get out, but Candy Lad is having none of it and wants them all to burn together.
Let me go.
I cannot. We are already dead.
But Helen says fuck that and stabs Candyman right in the chest and crawls her way out of the fire. She manages to give Anthony back to his mother, but sadly Helen is all crispy now. And with her all bushed and Candyman burning to death, they both end up #done. Sometime later, it's Helen's funeral. Jesus, that is a terrible turnout altogether. Oh, but wait, here comes everyone from the housing project. Jake tosses in Candyman's hook and says good luck to Helen. But back at home, Trevor sits on the loo and thinks to himself, what the fuck even happened these past few weeks? And he gets so upset about her, he says Helen's name 5 times in the mirror. But you shouldn't have done that, Trevor boy, as Helen shows up and fucking kills him. And with that, the movie film is dushed. I'd seen Candyman for the first time when I was a teenager and was pretty impressed by it. Everyone growing up has some form of the Candyman story where you say someone's name a number of times in the mirror and they are meant to appear. So right off the bat, the viewer is connected to this story and much more engrossed in it than other horror films, which allows its horror to be much more effective. Candyman stands out as one of the more intellectual slasher films. It has a great script with a slow burn approach and thought-provoking story to draw you in before any of the horror even truly begins. Helen is an interesting character to follow and discover the legend of Candyman with. She's far from the teenage protagonist in most slasher films, and Virginia Manson does a great job of making you care about her character. And you begin to feel for her as her life slowly unravels, all the way up to the tragic ending. But this is truly Tony Todd's film. The man brings such a presence to the film and comes across as both menacing and seductive with his cool look and booming voice. The man just gives off this cool vibe to him, and whenever he's on screen you can't help but be captivated. He really stands out amongst all the horror icons as one of the much more intelligent and thought-provoking villains. He doesn't come across as campy or his cracking jokes like Freddy or Chucky. He has a much softer way of speaking, but this only enhances the sinister vibe to him. His motives for killing are also interesting, as he isn't killing for pleasure or to protect his territory, but to keep his story alive and well and to strike fear into the hearts of people. Tony Todd just truly owns the role, and it's hard to think of anyone else playing him. The film also has a strong atmosphere to it and brings you into areas where most slasher films don't go. Its use of interesting editing and strong imagery throughout the film keeps you on your toes while you watch. Candyman is a thinking person slasher film and is one that will stick with you long after the credits have ended. It's probably one of the best horror films from the 90s and is a film that any horror fan should really go out and watch. I give Candyman 7 out of 10 Horshes.